Hey everyone, it's John, and today what I want to do is, in effect, show you how to create your own customized Cisco show commands. Now, that might sound strange, but you can actually do this, and you can do it by the use of something called macros. Now, the way this is going to work is I'm going to show you how to create a simple macro, and at first you might kind of not really see the purpose of it. You might think it might be easier doing it the other way, but I'm going to build upon that, and you can actually see just how effective these configurations can be. Now, if you're like me, you might have some very particular, very favourite commands which just you happen to like, especially when you're using the pipe and you like to include certain things and exclude certain things and go to certain sections. You tend to have your own way of working. Now, using these macros, you can really hone in and target just exactly what you want and concatenate it with other commands at the same time, so you can build your own favourite little command. So what does that mean? What am I talking about? I think it's probably easier just to show you. So like I say, the first thing which I'll do is I'll start off slow and then we'll build on it and build on it and build on it. So the first thing, if you've watched a few of my videos, you'll notice I've got a habit of doing a few certain commands. One would probably be, rather than do show IP int brief, I like to exclude unassigned addresses because I don't want to see them. They're not there. I'd rather just see my own addresses which are configured. So I tend to do this command and I exclude anything with unassigned. So I'm basically excluding anything that's got the keywords UN in it, which is going to be these two. And now we get this nice clean output with just configured IP addresses. Another one which I tend to do is if I do like configuring a router, the router EIGRP no auto summary. Some people before they start configuring this want to see just the connected interfaces, and they might do show IP route connected. Now you can do this, nothing wrong with it, but for me personally, I don't think it's quite as clean because you still have these locally connected interfaces to these L's. So the command I like to do is do show IP route, and I do an I for include and capital C. So I'm just going to include ones with a capital C. So effectively get this nice clean output, and if I'm just going to put in my networks, I just follow that just straight down. Do you know what I mean? Sequentially, you don't need to skip over any of these L's. It's just 222, 333, 10000, 10004, and it's really easy. However, you might have noticed that this might not be the swiftest command, and it's also quite easy to typo. Putting in these pipes and that, holding down the shift key and whatnot, just to get that output. So how would I get this output a little bit easier? Well, as you can probably guess where I'm going with this, you create a macro. Now, what is a macro? So let's create one. So the first thing you do is do macro and name. Now, be aware of this, okay? This is kind of like a hidden command, because if you do the question mark here, unrecognized command, you think you've made a mistake. You actually haven't. So just continue on, and we'll call this macro test, okay? Enter. Now we're into this macro configuration mode, and just type in the command which you want. So in the case of my one, I want to do show IP routes include connected, push enter, and when I'm finished, like it says there, push the @ key, and that'll be it. So now, rather than actually having to type do show IP routes include connected, which I can still do obviously, I can also type in macro, well, not Marco, macro global apply, and whatever the name was, okay, test, and it's going to execute that same command. So you might think, okay, well that doesn't look that much shorter, and it probably isn't. So for example, when I do these, I try to make the name quite short, unless if you want to make a lot of them and you need to have a kind of distinguished descriptive name. If you're only going to use one or two favourite commands, you can make them really short. So for example, let's do it again. We'll do macro name and just call this one B, okay? Really short name. And we'll also just do the exact same command. Do show IP routes, IC enter A. Right, so if we do it global, or rather not global, we'll do macro, and just rather than doing globally apply, just shorthand it GA globally apply, and then B. So macro gab effectively, and now you've got that command. So much easier. So I can do router EIGRP1 no summary, macro GAB, and I can get that and start doing my configurations. You know what I mean? So it's not too hard to do that. It's quite simple. But here's the magic with this stuff, okay? So if you want, you can actually concatenate multiple commands in. The first thing that I want to say is, just before I do this, I want to do a little bit of a note on pipe commands because I use them quite heavily and quite extensively. And maybe a fair few of the people watching this know that you can do this, but some people might, so I'm just going to point it out. You can actually use OR logic, you know, like an OR gate or an AND gate or a NOT gate, OR logic in your pipe commands. Now, so if I did, so for example, say do show CDP neighbor detail, and I did include device, okay, just a basic pipe command. The two devices I'm connected to are switch 1 and switch 2, okay? But let's say I also wanted the address, I could just do address. So I've got the address, or I can do device. So how would I put the two of them into the same command? If I did this, detail, in device, pipe again, watch this though. Now you notice all we're getting there effectively is the last one. We're ignoring the device. So see, when you're doing this, don't put a space between this part, okay? So do show CDP neighbor detail in device and pipe it here address, so that they're right next to each other, okay? And now we're also going to get, see this time it's got the device ID and it's got the address. It's basically put in these two commands. So we're including device, including address, so we can get them all in. So just be aware that when I'm putting in these macros, a few of them will actually have these OR logic includes. So let's get on to the fun part. So that was the basic description of what you can do. Now with a macro, what I've done is I've basically just created this macro here. Now you can see the layout of this macro doesn't make too much sense. There's nothing really specific about it. I've just done it so that you can see a whole wide array of details effectively. So we've got do show IP route include connected. That was the first one I did. The do show IP interface brief exclude unassigned. I've got do show IP OSPF neighbor. Do show run section router. Do show IP protocols, and I've got this OR logic here, which is going to include the ID, which is going to show you the router ID, and the K, which is going to include the K value, because I'm also running EIGRP and OSPF on this just now. Do show interface include just encapsulation. Do show, that was the one I just did there, CDP neighbor detail include device and the address. Do show version include bytes and register. It's going to show you the flash and the configuration register. And at the end, in case you want to copy and paste it, do show clock, which will show you the time where I hit this configuration, and do show users exclude any idle users. So if you're logged in via Telnet or something, or SSH, your user will be shown on that. So let's go and just configure this. So this will be the command. We're going to effectively create this custom command that's going to pull out all these. So copy this, and we'll just call this macro name and just call it D. Okay. Now just paste this in, enter, and then do our @ symbol, and that's it. So if you want to execute that entire command, just do macro MAD, macro apply rather, global, so do macro GAD. So we're getting this in this new command, and that's the output, okay? So effectively we've got this command that's going to, it's basically ran that include connected, the unassigned, it's show IP OSPF neighbor, it's got my show run section router here, it's got my router OSPF, it's got the show IP protocols with the router ID and the show IP protocols with the K metric, it's got my show interface with encapsulation, so we've got ARPA and loopback for the loopbacks. The show CDP neighbor, it's got the device ID as well as the device IP address. Now switch 2 is here, and switch 2 which I'm connected, that's its IP address. We've also got the local flash memory here, the configuration register, which is a bit of a dodgy one because it's using virtual viral images. And we've also got the time this was executed at. It was executed on this time, on this day, and there's no users there because I'm not logged in via SSH, otherwise it would show you like the username if I was in as John or whatnot. So that's just how you can do that. Now here's the thing, okay, with that, if we do show parser and do macro, we can actually see that one. So this is the one here, D. Now, you'll notice that we've got do show IP OSPF neighbor, but like I said, we've also configured EIGRP. So what if we want to swap out EIGRP for that? Well, you could do that. You could create a whole new one, or you could just use this logic and just do macro globally apply the macro name called D, so it's GAD. Now, this is the logic we're working with here. So the next word I put in, I'm basically telling the macro, take this word and then change it with the second word, which I'm doing. So I'm saying, if you see in this macro the word OSPF, I want you to change the word to EIGRP. You see that? So it's going to look through the macro, and when it sees OSPF, it's not going to execute OSPF, it's going to execute EIGRP neighbor. So rather than seeing OSPF and the DRs on one, we're going to now see EIGRP, and the rest will all be the same. Just quickly change that, and then we're going to run the same thing, and now you can just automatically see straight away. Very, very similar command, however, now we're seeing EIGRP neighbors rather than OSPF neighbors. Okay? So you can do this endlessly. Now what I want to do is just quickly show you a wee application which you can do this on. So let's say you wanted to just grab this other router completely, which has got no configurations on it. And let's say we are going to create a macro name and just call it L. We're going to create a loopback. And what we'll do is we'll just do description. This is a loopback address. And we'll do IP address 1.1.1.1 with a mask is going to be a /32. And we'll also put it into IP OSPF area 1. And we'll just leave it at that, okay? So that's now the macro. The macro is now under the name L. So show parser macro. So under the name L, we've now got this configuration. Okay, so if we get into a we did interface loopback 1 and did on the interface level macro apply and just put in the word. It's a bit different because it's not globally apply, it's just macro apply. Okay, and L. So that's it applied. If we do interface loopback 2 now, we can do macro apply L, but remember we want to change nothing but the IP address. So change, apply the same macro, but just change whenever you see 1.1.1.1, change it to 2.2.2.2, and that's it. Interface loopback 3, macro apply L 1.1.1, and change it to 3.3.3 we're in this time, and loopback 4 rather, macro apply L 1.1.1, and loopback 5, macro apply L 1.1.1 5.5.5. So you can just continually keep doing this. If I do a show run, you see we've now got interface loopback 4. It's all got common things like the description's the same, but I changed out the IP address. I swapped out for interface loopback 5. We've got IP address 5. It's got OSPF configured on it. This has got all the 4s OSPF configured on it. I think I actually forgot to put in the address for loopback 3. I think I forgot to apply the macro properly, but that was just my own fault there. But you can see loopback 1's got all the 1s with OSPF, and you can make really large configurations on this. So say for example you've got, I should create a bunch of VLANs. So VLAN 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever, that'll do. Show VLAN. Now, if we wanted to, we could create. Well, you might think if you're going to use a lot of common configurations, why not copy and paste? But like you said, because you can easily switch out values in the macro, it's so much easier. So rather than just doing like say int range in all your interfaces and just putting the exact same configuration, macros allow you to just change slight things incrementally, but allow you to kind of keep the block of the configurations. So here's one I've got here, okay? Now you'll notice something here. I've got this word VLAN in capitals. This is effectively going to act like a variable in programming. So switch port access VLAN. VLAN is because when I'm going to apply this, I'm going to change the word VLAN to the actual number, and the rest is going to be the exact same, okay? So let's say we'll create this macro here. Right, so we'll do, let's have a look. We'll do macro name, and we'll just call this one V for VLANs, okay? And paste it in here. And we'll do our sorry. Okay, so now if we did int range gig 0, 1 to 2, and what I'm going to do is do macro apply V, but in the macro, when you see the word VLAN, don't type VLAN, type 5, okay? That's that. So if I do int range gig 1 to 1 0 to 2, and I did macro apply V, and I changed the word VLAN. Whenever you see a VLAN on these interfaces, I want you to put 10 in, okay? And I did int range gig 2 0 to 2, and I do macro apply V, and when you see the word VLAN, I want you to change it to 15. So what actually is the output of what we've done here? Well, let's do a show run. And now we'll see so gig 01 is in VLAN 5 with all these configurations: switch port security, spanning tree, port fast, no negotiate. Same with 01 is VLAN 5, 02 is VLAN 5, but when we get to 10, we're now in VLAN 10, but we've still got all the same configurations here, okay? VLAN 10 here, and all different here, and again, once we get to 20, we're now in VLAN 15, but all this is the same, which you couldn't do if you're just doing basic copy pasting. This allows you to basically copy paste, but make slight changes across different ports to allow you a little bit more specificity. Okie doke. So I think I'm going to try and keep the video here and just stop it right now, because I'll try to keep it a bit shorter. I hope to make more videos on these kind of topics, but yep, I think that's the end of the video. So thanks very much, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay, bye bye.